Hi, welcome back to Liberation Tarot. This is Leah, and today I'll be doing a tarot spread for the first quarter moon. So the first quarter moon refers to the half moon when it's in its waxing period. So there are 4 quarters to a 1-month moon cycle, and the first quarter moon refers to the first quarter of that cycle. So even though it's a half moon, we call it a first quarter moon. So this tarot spread is for the collective. It's for collective wellness and collective liberation, and it's going to help us understand what we're experiencing right now and for this coming week of this waxing moon phase from the first quarter moon to the full moon. So that's approximately a week, and right now it's from April 30th to May 7th, and this first quarter moon is in Leo. So I'm going to help you sort of understand what that means. So when the moon is in this phase where it's between half moon and full moon, there's a lot of momentum, and you might be feeling that. You might feel that every month around this time. It's kind of like the 8s and the 9s in the Pips in Tarot. It is this phase about momentum and excitement and also sort of pushing you to your edge. So if we were to think of the moon as a wave, and the wave is cresting and cresting and cresting from new moon to full moon. And it's a period of sort of unconscious, instinctive action building and momentum. And it kind of makes us drunk as it progresses in, a way. Makes us high, makes us feel excited, and that's where that unconscious part comes in. So as this wave crests and crests and crests, we might be feeling some buzzing, some excitement, some momentum, and a little bit of loss of control. So the full moon is kind of a big expression of that. When the full moon comes, it is a full manifestation of all that has come before it. So if we've been doing a lot of practices or certain things have gone well in our lives, it can mean a really full blossoming experience for us. That's really connected and raw and big. And if we've been having a lot of challenges or things outside of us maybe have been challenging us or maybe inside of us, the full moon can feel overwhelming. So even though the full moon is kind of a high experience, electric, that can go in negative directions or positive directions depending on some things within our control and other things outside of our control. So this period is about really learning to ride that wave. So getting on that surfboard, catching our breath, trying to find some ease and some really gentle, useful alterations so that as we approach this full moon, this full-blown excitement moment, we are going into it with a little more grace, a little more thoughtfulness. So I thought of a 3-card spread that we're going to do, and I'll show you a picture of that here. So in this spread, we're going to do 3 cards, and the first card asks the question, what can we release in order to take a pause in the midst of this building momentum? The second card is, what must we all be considering so that this fire, this Leo waxing half moon fire, is beneficial for all people and for the earth? And then the third card is, what can we commit to in order to maximize the positive impact of this momentum? So today I'll be using the Numinous Tarot deck. Ooh, wow. The 10 of Candles just leaked out. That's equivalent to the 10 of Wands. Overwhelm. Are you feeling a little overwhelmed? A little too many projects going on? Well, it's coming to a natural end, so that's good. But we should be conscious of releasing some of our projects, which luckily for us is the first card. So I'm going to clear the deck. calling on my spirit guides and the spirit guides of all the beings in the world. Those spirits that have all of our best interests in mind, please come forward today. We ask for your support. We ask for information. And we are so very grateful for your presence, your continued support and magic. We are seeking information regarding how we can move towards collective liberation and well-being. And we'd like to know, first, what can we release to take a pause and take a breath? Second, what can we all be considering in order to allow this fire, this momentum, to be beneficial to all people and all beings and to the earth? And third, what can we all commit to right now in order to get the most positive outcomes of this current fire and momentum? So that's release, consider, and commit. Very interesting. Okay. So, first question, what can we release right now in order to take a pause and take a breath? And I got the Ace of Bells, which in the Numinous Tarot is swords, and I got it reversed. So typically, upright, the Ace of Bells or Ace of Swords has to do with, the essence or the beginning of the sword suit. So truth, power, communication, intellect, analysis, and the beginning of that thought process. And to get it reversed is interesting. So the question is, what can we release right now? So, let's see, let me think about this for a second. Okay, so here's what I'm getting from this. So when it's reversed, I'm taking it to mean sort of a less than honest state, something that's not quite clear or honest or logical. And at this time, I think we have to release what's dishonest. And it's an interesting thing to think about, because when I was thinking of the question, what should we release? I was thinking of something that, how can we release something so we can find more pause, more breath, more restfulness? And when the answer is release lies and falsehoods, that might initially sound like, well, that doesn't sound relaxing. That sounds like, I don't know, moral policing or something. But I don't want us to think about it like that. I think a good way to think about it is we can't afford to be bullshitting each other right now. We can't afford to be bullshitting ourselves. So this moment in the pandemic is really forcing us to come to terms with our practices, who we are in our homes, in our relationships, and there's not as many distractions to distract us from how we're feeling and how we're doing. So I think we need to let go right now of failing to acknowledge clearly how we're doing and how folks around us are doing, and really actively seeking clarity and allowing that clarity and honesty to lead you to do things that involve more self-care. So what's happening right now, inevitably, it can really fray our nerves. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know that we need a little more tenderness, a little more gentleness, and so do the people around us. So getting down to the truth and what's clear, it actually creates a simpler life. And it helps us realize the simple things that we need, like maybe a bath or a well-cooked meal or a kiss. When we get caught up in confusion or bullshit, like so much of the media can lead us into that, it can really confuse what we need and confuse our truth and lead us in 1,000 different directions and exhaust our energy. And we are precious, all of us. And we have to conserve our energy. We have to be honest with what we need and where we're at right now. So release any bullshit that's leading you in 1,000 different directions or confusing you or exhausting you. Get down to your truth and relax into that. Okay. What should we be considering right now so that this momentum and this fire really is supportive of all people? I pulled the 10 of Bells, which is the 10 of Swords. And this is honestly one of the hardest cards in the deck because it is the last stage on the Swords journey. And as you can see, it's a person drowning, shot in the heart. And it's dire. It's just the end. It's game over. All the challenges and all the negative thoughts and all of the, trauma that's built up inside has just come to a finality. And it has this sort of internal death that leads to change and rebirth, which is good. But this is a moment of loss and death and grief. And I think that this is the card we need right now. So I'm grateful I pulled it. Because in this moment, there's a lot of fear that people are having. And I think that on one hand, we shouldn't be overreactive because overreaction frays our nerves. Stress impacts our immune system in really serious ways. And on the other hand, we cannot be blowing off what's happening right now. It's serious. And I think the most serious thing about it is that we're losing lives. People are sick. People are losing loved ones. People are losing their lives. And no matter how you swing that, no matter how you phrase that, there is loss. There have been approximately 200,000 deaths at this point due to COVID. And every single one of those 200,000 deaths is a precious person connected to hundreds of precious people. So I think to really bring everyone along, to make this a collective movement about collective liberation and collective well-being, we have to recognize the trauma of this moment and the grief and hold people really tenderly and recognize that what's happening is serious. That doesn't mean we have to live in a state of stress about it, but it does mean we have to be respectful of it and honest in the grief and trauma that's happening and how that impacts people in really real ways, and be as loving and thoughtful and learned about that as we can. Learn about, trauma and grief and how we can be trauma informed in the way that we treat our friends and our coworkers. So it's a really hard card, but I think it's important for us right now that we really treat each other tenderly and remember that people are going through incredibly serious loss right now. And maybe you are going through that loss right now. So treat yourself tenderly too, and allow that to connect you to this network of people going through not the same, but similar or parallel experiences. So we share in all joys and we share in all griefs, and let's remember that as we make choices and move forward as a collective. And then what can we commit to right now was the final question in order to get the most positive outcomes of this fire and this momentum. And one of my fave cards, especially in this deck, the Six of Tomes. So that's the equivalent to the Six of Pentacles, and I love this card. You can see a little free library and someone reading a book in a little free library. And you might be someone who lives around those. I love little free libraries. I don't look at them anymore because of the pandemic, but I used to a lot. And Six of Tomes is all about generosity. So the Five of Tomes in the tarot is a pretty dire situation: poverty, illness, loss of home. So those are potential things that could happen with the Five of Pentacles. So I think because so many people are going through things related to the Five of Pentacles right now, what we really need as a collective is to move into the Six of Pentacles and really recognize our abundance. And if you have a feeling of abundance and to give right now and have that spaciousness, do it. We need each other more than ever right now. And there are mutual aid networks popping up everywhere. There is so much opportunity for you to get involved, and people who need it more than ever, who, have had a boot on their necks because of the system forever. But right now, it's becoming lethal if it wasn't already. There are opportunities, mutual aid networks that are popping up, ways to get involved, and people really need help. And if you feel like you have that space to do that, commit to that. Even in small ways, find something you can do. Make a meal for a women's shelter. Get involved with a mutual aid network and deliver groceries for your neighbor. Put up flyers for resources in the area. There's lots of ways to get involved. So a little bit of your commitment could do a lot for a lot of people. Of course, maybe you are someone that's feeling like you're in the Five of Tomes phase, feeling a lot of loss and maybe poverty or houselessness right now, and obviously do what feels right, bringing us back to the Ace of Bells reversed, which is be honest with where you're at right now and what you need in order to ride this wave and ride this crest. But what I'm reading from all of this is there's a lot of momentum right now in helping each other and networks popping up around that. And if you get involved right now, there's going to be a lot of energy supporting you in that. So it's a really good time to get involved. And Ten of Bells reminds us that there's serious grief and trauma. So as you do that, remember that people are going through some real things right now. Let's be tender with each other. And let's be honest with ourselves. Yeah, so there's a lot of air happening, and a lot of earth that'll help us get through. Earth as well as very clear air. Earth being that generosity, that material giving, and that clear air being us being honest with ourselves about what we need right now and how to be more honestly tender and gentle with ourselves and with each other. These are pretty wild times, but I'm grateful to be on this earth with you all in this moment. Even in the midst of all of this, there's so much beauty, and I'm grateful for you all and glad you could join me today. So enjoy this waxing moon week, and may you find some gentleness, honesty, and generosity in it. Thanks for being here. Till next time.